It's always a party at Patchworks. Let's get this party started. Woot woot. Hi everyone. This is Julie from Patchworks, and I am so excited that you're joining us for another Must Sew TV tonight here at Patchworks. Happy New Year. It is January 5th, 2023, and we are so excited to talk about our toes in the sand. We're going to talk about a new temperature quilt that's coming. We're also going to just give a touch to a glimmer and gleam quilt that we'll be doing later. Have some new fabric, can answer your questions, all sorts of really fun stuff. So I'm super excited that you're here with me tonight. I am here in the store by myself tonight, so I'll be paying attention to your questions. If I miss something, I will grab it after the show. And I'm just looking over, and it looks like you can hear me and see me, so that's fabulous. So let's get started. So last year, we were playing with this amazing quilt, Toes in the Sand. We did it as a block of the month, 12 months, 24 blocks. We have a couple kits still available so that you could make the whole thing. And it was available to either make in the normal lap size, or you could also make it larger by making some more blocks and do it queen size. We had so much fun making all the blocks. You can see them as we had them led into the program. And let's just take a peek overhead again. And we're not going to go through every single one, but you can just see that we had so much fun. We played with some fussy cutting and just all sorts of different shapes, a sampler shape, making all these great 60-degree triangle blocks. Okay, so learned lots playing with Julie Herman's rulers, and now it's time to put it together. So with putting it together, clearly we're not going to sew the whole thing tonight, but one of the things that we need to talk about is how to get the triangles, the setting triangles, this big, okay, because that's bigger than any of the rulers that we have for the Julie Herman specialty rulers, right? This is bigger than any ruler, right? And also, how are we going to get these setting left, or this is right, setting right and left, as well as top and bottom, because this is not a half diamond. It is actually two triangles. Okay, so let's talk about how we do that. And we will look at doing some cutting along the way. So we learn a little bit of good stuff. All right, so first thing we are going to do is we are going to look at the book. Okay, so the book here, no, we're not going to give you all of the instructions. Darn. But we're going to flip to the center of the book, and you can see we have an A shape and a BC shape. Okay, so we have a couple options for when we're going to do them. Number one is to make plastic templates. So this A is actually a half A, and the B and C is the full size of the shape. So if you were going to take option one and trace it onto template paper, template plastic, I'd say, Julie, where do I get template plastic? I'd say, well, of course you get it at Patchworks. You say, well, what kind are there? And I'll say, well, we carry two different kinds. So this first one is template plastic by Easy Quilting. It is 12 by 18, and it is $1.69 a sheet. It is translucent but not clear, and it is not heat resistant. It is great for designing reusable template shapes and is a very nice, versatile, economical piece of plastic for creating your templates. The second piece we have is the heat-resistant template plastic, and that is No Melt Mylar 12 by 18. It's a little bit more expensive. It's $5.59, and it is completely clear and nice and shiny. The reason why you would want to use this is that it can withstand heat up to 450 degrees. So if you needed to use it in conjunction with your iron, you'd want to choose this. Now for what we are doing, we only need your standard template plastic. However, if the one piece of plastic you have at home is the heat resistant, go ahead and use that. When you are tracing this, if you choose to do this, I would say go ahead and take advantage, since this is a nice 90 degree, take advantage of the built-in corner that you have built here, okay? So what I did when I cut out my shapes is that I lined up, let's see, can you see this here? Kind of, sort of. So you line it up very, very carefully. And then I mark my reference point here, 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 okay? And then what I did is I took my rotary cutter. Now don't worry, it's not your good rotary cutter. Every time you change your blade, I want you to keep these old blades and keep them in a container called old. And if you don't have two handles, you would then change out your handle with your old blade and then be able to use it for your craft plastic like this, okay? So then what we would do is we use our reference marks, we line up our piece, and we'd cut out our shape like this, okay? So this is my A piece that I would have just done. Okay, this is my A piece, and you can see that I only marked here. I didn't try to draw a straight line because I knew I wouldn't be able to necessarily have a perfectly straight line. So I just marked some dashes, and then I connected the line with the ruler. I marked here that this is where the fold should be, and I probably should have put here that this was piece A, and it also wouldn't hurt to put in there that this is Toes in the Sand quilt, okay? So that you have all that information in case if you lose this, all right? Now, for your BC, you do the same thing, and what I did is I switched to the opposite corner so that I could take advantage of my other 90 degree, okay? Did the same thing where I lined up my 90, and then I marked dot, 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 end on a cutting mat. I took my ruler with my old blade and cut, okay? Now I cut beforehand because cutting on the plastic can be a little slippery, and I wanted to take my time and not rush it to, number one, not hurt myself, and number two, make a straight cut, okay? Then I wrote on here, my B is when it is going this way, and when I flip it like this, it's my C, okay? So I have my B and my C, and this is where I fold. All right, so now I have my two templates. Here, this would be on the fold. We did not have a template plastic large enough to trace the whole thing. You, of course, could do that as well. I'm going to show you when we get into that part a way to cut the A a little bit easier. I just wanted to show you how you'd go ahead and cut the pieces. So any questions so far? Thanks to everybody who's joining us. All right, so what we're going to do now is that we are going to start cutting our setting triangles, okay? We're going to use the white fabric, which is from the Line Work collection. And I went ahead and we have our whole piece. We're not going to cut it all tonight, but I want to show you how we're going to go ahead and start it. When we're cutting something like this off of the bolt, I like to have multiple rulers. Okay, I like multiple rulers. I like, of course, the rulers that we make here. The long one is called the Big Daddy. The short ones are Big Mama. We can use them together, and they are great. Okay, so I have this long piece of fabric here. So this is like 3 yards of fabric that we need for our setting and our borders. I was a little lazy because I knew we weren't going to do the whole thing. I was a little lazy. I only pressed the one side. I did not pre-wash this, as I didn't pre-wash the rest of the quilt. When I cut long strips, I like to work with only a half width here. Okay, so we're going to be cutting strips. I'm going to fold this over here so we can cut longer. And I'm going to fold this nice. Fold this up. Does that make sense? I want the least amount of acrylic on the least amount of fabric so that I don't have as much slip and slide. I'm just going to slide this down. I'm working with a little bit smaller space here so that you can see it underneath the camera. Okay, I need to make my straight cut. So to do that, I am going to line up this one ruler close to the edge with my perpendicular line on this small fold. And then I'm just going to butt this guy up against the edge of it. And I know it's nice and straight. And now we're going to find my rotary cutter that I lost underneath my heaps of fabric. Okay, slide this away. And I have my straight cut, okay? So notice I'm not using the ruler here or the mat for my guides. I need to have a 12.5-inch strip. So I'm going to use both my rulers together. I have a 6.5 and a 6.5. So I'm going to take my, what is 12.5 minus 6.5. Oh, I know I told you there'd be no math. Oh my gosh. We want 6 inches, so 6, I'm going to line up, here's my 6, I'm going to line up my perpendicular and my 6, and I know this is 6.5, so 6.5 plus 6 equals 12.5, because that's what I need. Okay, line that up. I don't need to hold on to both rulers, okay? I only need to hold on to this one. And I'm going to make my straight cut. Now I have a beautiful 12.5-inch strip. Do you want me to do that again? Okay. I have my straight cut here. I might have to straighten it up because I'm going to be moving it. I didn't move everything perfectly. Okay. Let's see. We'll just keep it nice and tight. All right, so we have a straight cut. 6 plus 6.5. So we're going to line it up perpendicular on the 6. Take the whole extra ruler, which is my 6.5. Hold on to the second ruler and cut. All right, it looks we have a question. So a question is, when you cut from a large piece of fabric, how often do you re-straighten for the next cut? It actually doesn't matter what size of fabric you have. The rule of thumb is either when it gets crooked, that would be no matter what, it doesn't matter when, you would always re-straighten. Number 2 would be after the third cut, you should always check, okay? So after the third cut, or if it's visibly crooked. Great question. So I'm not going to cut the rest of these. I'm just wanted to have that for sample here. Okay, so now we are going to cut our setting triangle. When I'm working with fabric, if I'm confident with my cutting, I could leave it folded up. What we're going to do, since we're kind of having a little bit of learning on here, opening it up isn't a bad thing. I would make sure I'd press this, okay, to press out that crease. I had pressed that crease in while I was just quick prepping my fabric, super quick. Now, this is the template shape that she gave us. So what we could do is fold it, line it up, lay our ruler across, and this is a nubbed top. So we line it up right here. Very carefully on the fold, but it's a little hard to see to make sure it's right on the edge. Line it right up and then cut. Okay, and then you have your triangle. We have a better option for our whole triangle that we're going to be cutting. We've been using all along the hex and more ruler. Okay, and that is a 12.5 inches wide. So what we can do is we can use this kind of like we were using that second ruler, okay? When we were making our straight cut, remember I was using that one ruler just for positioning. We're going to use the hex and more just for positioning. So how far do I have to be scooched over? Okay. Can scooch right here. All right, so what I'm doing is that I positioned my hex and more across my 12.5 inch strip. Then I am positioning this ruler, I'm butting it up against here, okay? This was just a placeholder. I'm going to pull this away. Don't let go, don't let go. I'm going to very carefully cut. Okay, I'm going to have that left over. I'm going to put this back here, and you're either going to want to move your mat or move your body. You don't want to pick that piece of fabric up. So I'm going to rotate my little mat around. Okay. I'm going to position this up against it. Okay, everybody with me? Pull that away. And cut. Whew, now we can exhale. So we have a 12.5 inch setting triangle. Okay. Which can go in between these guys. Okay. Whew. Should we do it one more time? Let's do it one more time. So now we have our cut. We're going to position it this way, right? I'm going to have to scooch it down. I'm going to run out of room. So I prefer to move the fabric as little as possible so we don't have to keep re-straightening it. Okay, so this is lined up here. I would have taken that crease out. Make sure we're lined up nice. Move that away. And another nubbed triangle. Okay? So that is how we do the triangles. Now, with this white on white, I don't know if you can see here. Yeah, you can kind of see the bird. It's not directional because they're tossed and they go every which way, so that's super awesome. So that's why we started cutting the background. So you'll cut as many as you need depending on what size of quilt that you are making. Always working in those 12.5-inch strips, and you'll have a little bit left over. Okay? You do need to make sure that you have enough for that side border, so you don't want to just cut as much fabric as you had in your kit and then chop it all up, because you want to make sure you have fabric left over for those side borders. Now for our, so these were the big settings, right? And these are the sides, setting sides. This is Mick Jaguar, and it is directional fabric. Whew, this is going to be tricky. I just know it. Well, it is, but it's not. So here what we're going to do is that we're going to take what we need, cut off the edge, but instead of chopping our 12.5 like this, we're going to open it up, okay? So I have a smaller piece here that we're going to cut with, but if we just for reference, I have this 1/2 yard cut, okay? So this 1/2 yard came off the bolt, okay? So the 1/2 yard came off the bolt, just like this, right? So what we're going to do is that instead of cutting our 12.5 this way, we're going to open it up, selvage, can you see my hand, selvage to selvage, and we're going to cut our 12.5 this way. We call this length of fabric instead of cutting it width of fabric. So with the white we were cutting width of fabric. For Mick Jaguar, we're cutting length of fabric. If you are making this quilt, the pattern does tell you that quite clearly, so you don't have to freak out about it. But if you haven't done it, I just wanted to mention to you that they are each cut 2 different ways. So I have a small piece here, and it is much narrower than what I just, for little scrap purposes, we have a whole bunch of this Mick Jaguar scrap, and so for our quilt, we're actually going to be using scraps to finish it up. So we have it selvage to selvage spread out. So what we need to do is we need to cut our 12.5-inch strips. So we made our straight cut first, okay, butted our 2 rollers up, made that first cut, okay, just like we did with that white fabric. And let me just do it again for you here. So you can see we have our 6-inch right on the edge here. And then we'll take the second ruler for 6.5, because 6 and 6.5 equals 12.5. You're going to get 3 cuts out of each width, or out of the width of fabric, okay? Now, if you had, so you're going to have a longer piece of fabric, so you could also fold it lengthwise, similar to how we folded our white widthwise. And you can bring it in, and I can show you at the store if you're having a difficult time visualizing, or if you're from afar, we can set up a FaceTime, no problem. Okay, so yours would be much longer, right? Much longer, because you'd have your, I think it's a yard and something, so much bigger. So for the A, B, so there's going to be, how far can we see here? So there's one that comes like this, and then one that comes like this. Let's take our template to kind of visualize it. Okay, so you have here, and then one like that, and then on the other side, one like this and one like that. So we're actually going to be needing lefts and rights and ups and downs. Whoa. So to cut these, we can actually stack them, if you're confident, right sides together. Oh, I know a couple of you are watching and are a little nervous. You're saying, I don't know, Julie, I don't know if I can cut them together. So you would have a longer strip here. We're just dealing with a small piece here, okay? We're going to do a straight cut here because it's not straight on the end. So I'm going to take my 2 rulers again, right? 2 rulers. Use my perpendicular on the bottom. Butt this guy up to the edge. I can probably scooch him over just a titch. Very scientific word. Move this away. Okay, I made my straight cut. And I've got my guys, yep, my guys are facing the same way. Ooh, all right, so they're facing vertically, and I need my template here, okay? So I'm going to line up my template along the straight edge here, okay? So might be a little hard to see, but my end is hooked up to my cut end. My bottom is perpendicular, and right there it fits in. When you're working with a piece of template plastic, you actually put it underneath your ruler, okay? Because you don't want to cut up straight against that piece of template plastic because it could cut. We just, remember, we prepared it with a rotary cutter, so we can absolutely cut it with a rotary cutter. So it's right against there. And we don't want to keep shaving it down every time we cut it. So cut that first unit there. Now this one, because we do have them going up and down, we can use we're going to use the reverse side, okay? I'm going to line it up here. In this particular section that we made, we're only going to get 2 units out of the cut, right? But you would be using that longer piece. We just have this small piece that we're doing for demonstration purposes. Okay. All right, so now we have 4 pieces, and okay, so these are the bottoms, right? Because they're the upside down ones. So this one and this one go together. And this one go together. Do you see that? Magic. Now we aren't worried that when I piece these together, the legs aren't going to work. Okay, that we are not bothered with, because this is not that fussy of a piece, okay? If you truly wanted everything fussy cut, buy a bolt. I can hook you up, and then you can figure out, we can talk about how you can fussy it. But the pattern is not written for you to fussy cut these particular ones, as these are colored such that it does not matter. So, what do you think? Does this seem a little easier than what it looked like in the book, or did I make it look more complicated? Let me know. Okay, so big takeaways that we have here are that if you are making this particular quilt, you're going to be cutting one of them width of fabric, one of them length of fabric. But whether or not you're making the quilt at all, we talked about using 2 rulers for helping you with your straight cut, and then also helping you cut strips wider than the width of your ruler. So a lot of you are curious why I personally don't use a lot of square rulers, and you wonder how we can possibly get everything done with the few rulers that we have in the store. It's because we butt the rulers up next to each other to be able to create those larger widths or larger lengths to be able to do what we need. And it takes just a minute to kind of think about how that's a different way of thinking about it. But at the end of the day, while I love all of my tools, I love fabric a little bit more. And so I want you to have all the proper tools that you need, but I don't want to make you buy more tools than are required. Kathy wants to know, could I use a 60-degree ruler to make my triangles? The answer is yes. However, I don't know what the translation depending on what your brand is because of this nub. Okay, so if you knew where to position it based on how it fit on your Hexenmoor ruler, absolutely use whatever tools in the toolbox that you have. Does that make sense? All right. So you just always, I know this sounds weird, but not all 60-degree triangles are created equal because of if they're nubbed or not nubbed. So, and their markings, some people measure them differently. So I just want to make sure that you don't want to have too small of a triangle. All right. So that is what we're going to talk about tonight. I'm going to have you cut out your pieces like that. Let me know if you have any questions. And then next month, I'm going to talk about assembling them. Okay, so Heidi's going to help me do some magic behind the scenes. Don't worry, by next month, the whole quilt won't be absolutely completed. She's just going to help me cut everything out and then maybe help piece a row or two, but I'll go through how you will want to pin and piece these guys, okay? So that we can have everything work out beautifully. We can also talk about if you have to make up for any, any abnormalities if your blocks are a little bit irregular shaped, okay? So at this point, I do not want you to do any, don't trim or try to stretch your blocks at all. Worry about cutting this out, and we're either going to be able to use a block, or if it is just so crazy, every now and again we have to remake a block, and that's okay. But we will be able to evaluate them at that next step. Sound good? All right. I'm going to set this aside, and then we can talk about some more fun stuff. So we are heading into the new year. Well, I guess we already are in the new year, right? We're not heading into it. And at the end of last year, it was pretty exciting because right at the end of December, Julie Herman had released these shapes here, the Jaybird Quilts Fussy Cut shapes. And there's actually that 4.5-inch half hex, which is this one here that you had from that particular book. So you'd be able to, all the fussy cutting that we did in these blocks, now that I put them away. So if we wanted to fussy cut our little parrot here, or our jaguar within the blocks, these templates would allow us to do that, okay? Oh, I should have left them out. So we have them in stock, in store, all the different shapes that go along with her Hexenmoor as well as her Sidekick ruler. All of her patterns work with these shapes. The thing that I really love about these shapes is that they have that 1/4-inch seam allowance, printed on the back side of the acrylic, and it acts like a little, what do we call it? Anti-skid. So not only does it show you what would be sewn in into the seams, but it also acts like an anti-skid. So that's really, really nice. And then because they are full acrylic templates, you don't have to put a ruler on top of them when you're cutting it out. So you don't have to do that, and so it makes it a little bit easier. You definitely want to use a spinning mat or a small mat to spin around when you're working with that, because you want to still make sure you're practicing good rotary cutting technique. You don't want to cut around because that could lead to accidents. So we always want to cut away from ourselves and use a smaller ruler or smaller rotary cutter when you're using small shapes like that. But it's super awesome. They are $35.95 for the set of 6, and we have them in stock. She will be doing a separate quilt along, and when she has that information out there in the world, we'll have things to support that. Speaking of that half hex, Julie is going to be leading a temperature quilt along. Let me share that. There are a ton of temperature quilts that are being talked about. Oh, where did my little picture go? My picture's gone. Oh no. Let's see. I'm going to share my screen to show you what I'm talking about here, because I don't have my graphic. I thought I did, but I don't. Here we go. So this is a quilt that has 12 different columns, and the concept of the temperature quilt is to track temperature in a month. So January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, based on a specific year and where you live. If you had wanted to, you could pretend that you live in San Diego with Julie Herman, but it might be fun to just simply represent where it is that you live with the highs and lows. So you might be thinking, well, Julie, it's already January 5th and I haven't started. Well, the way that these work is typically you would be working on gathering your fabrics and prepping your fabrics, and then sew your row after you have all of the information for the entire month. So you really wouldn't be sewing until the end of January, okay? So we are tracking along here our highs and our lows for Elm Grove, and we are going to be sharing those at the end of every calendar month during the 2023 year. And if you had wanted to do this or any other style of temperature quilt, you'd be able to use that information. And no matter which pattern of temperature quilt you would be doing, you often, what you do is you break up the temperature into different chunks. So Julie Herman had recommended that you do 14 different categories. Moda is leading some different temperature quilt discussions. They are talking about splitting up theirs into 15 color categories. You could choose more or less. Traditionally, the colors used in a temperature quilt would correspond with the colors that we think about when we think about temperature. So when you look at the weather report, you think about the reds, the bright reds as being hot, and the blues and purples as being cold. If you wanted to use any other color scheme, you absolutely could. And I was talking to a couple of our customers before we started this, and actually a few of you thought it might be fun to have a more stylized quilt where you actually take your favorite fabric line and simply assign those to lights and darks. Or sorry, assign those to different temperature ranges. And so your quilt could be a beautiful floral quilt that, if you did not know it, would not represent anything according to temperature if that style didn't fit your particular lifestyle or such. Or you didn't want another, since you've been making a lot of these other modern quilts that have a lot of rainbow color schemes, that you just wanted to use up a stack of fabric. So the recommendation is that you pick 14 or more fabrics that you are going to assign a temperature range to, and start with a half yard of each of the fabrics. Unless if you have the ones on either extremes that you just need a little bit of fabric. We have several different ranges here in the store. So, you know, on our color wall, we have part of our color wall grouped by actual styles. So there's the grunge is together, the spotted is together, the thatched is together. We have this chroma by Northcott, which is a little bit more of, it's not pure color, it has some, I don't know, prism look to it. It's has a little more depth because there's a variety of different colors in here, so that's pretty cool. I thought it could be fun to use a color scheme that we have using canvas, which is a new fabric line by Northcott. I'm just going to quick throw the bolts up on top here so that you can see them. So I had 3 purples. I was feeling cold today. You know, and there's nothing saying that you have to use one range either. You could absolutely blend all sorts of different styles, right? And one of the things is that, you know, so they were showing the pink being hot, and part of me was thinking, because I guess I was so in tune with weather reports, that to me pink is ice. So I was thinking that pink wasn't hot, that it was actually cold. So I have 2 more oranges here, and isn't this pretty? So if anybody wants the canvas line here, let me know. Oh, Nancy is using the songbook line. That will be really, really pretty. So here we go. And then I have a pink that is floating off the edge here, okay? There's a pink. So if anybody had wanted this exact beautiful range, let me know, and I can hook you up with that. This is the canvas line from Northcott, and it is $11.99 a yard. So but I thought, you know what, wouldn't it be kind of fun to not only have a temperature guide, but what about if we're going to use something that's as literal as the colors to represent the temperature as they would meteorologically on the weather report, why throw in some fun things, small prints, to represent days? So, you know, putting in like a mini Santa, some shadows, some snowflakes. Okay, so I think that's pretty fun. I'm going to be, I don't know if I'm piecing it in or how I'm going to do it, or adding a piece, I don't know. But I think it'd be fun to represent actual events, to have, you know, a couple fun pieces per month in there. So that's my craziness that I think will be fun. And if that sounds right. Okay. Deb wants to know if there's a pattern. Changing my battery. Okay, I'm back. So, thanks so much for letting me know that, because I can't necessarily, I don't get to hear me. So, thanks for letting me know that my sound was breaking up. I flipped over to Julie Herman's page. So, this particular pattern is actually available. She's doing it as a digital pattern. And it is, I'm going to put in the link here. You actually sign up direct with her for the pattern. And I thought it was right here. Nancy, do you by any chance have that link to sign up? I'm just quick looking here to see if it's right here. No. I will put it in the comments afterwards. But it is direct from Julie Herman, and then we will play along, okay? So, just give one quick try here to see if it's here, Julie J. Bird. And I have my thing. It was for, I don't have it here. I should, but I don't. Enroll here. Here we go. Here, I got it. Yay, I got it. Sorry, Nancy, for sending you to it. Okay, so that is the link to buy temperature pattern pack. It's right there. Okay, so what you do is that you will sign up for that direct with Julie Herman. That's okay. We're working with Julie and Rachel over at Jaybird to figure out how we can best support each other, because there was a little bit of hiccup with all the different sew-alongs that Julie was hosting last year, that not all of us had all the patterns at the time that we needed them. So there may be some things that she does digitally with you or direct, and she's not cutting me out. We're just figuring out how I can best supply you with patterns and with fabrics and tools and all that physical stuff that you need to do to go and play along with it. And then she's going to be supporting me with the shop guides so that I can best guide you in these programs. Okay, so I'm really excited with working more with her this year than we have for a little bit. So that is super exciting. Okay. I'm going to set this down here, and then I'm going to share with you some fun other things. Oh, and so while I'm setting these down, talking about temperature quilts, you know, you can really do anything. This particular one is super, super fun. But if it's not your style, you can make a half square triangle a day. So where it would be, you know, so you have 2 pieces of fabric for low and high. If you've seen people who knit and make those calendar or scorekeeping scarves or things like that, you could think about making pixelated, you know, where you have 1 square or 1 inch per degree or something where you change the colors. I don't know. So, but for me, it's fun with a process and then just choosing that pattern so that I have one less thing to think about and I can just be super creative about my fabric choice, and then I can have a little bit of mindless sewing as I go and do that. All right, so have a couple other really exciting things that I'm going to show you because, well, I don't know if you knew, but we are just finishing up our year-end clearance event So it's, I guess, now a beginning of your clearance event. We are in the process of reopening the whole sale room. Oh, it's so exciting. So lots and lots and lots of exciting things because we're getting so much new stuff. And want to make sure that we have always some really nice price point things for you. So you got to do me a favor. If you are in need of any Christmas fabric, you got to scoop it up because I don't want to move it, okay? So you can either come in or you can buy it online, and we're going to be finishing that up and moving some of it into sale, and then the rest of it, because we always have a little bit of a Christmas department all year long. So help us out. Come and check it out sooner than later so that we don't have to move it. And then we can set out more of our new stuff. Okay, so totally unrelated. How many of you have heard about this 10-inch wonky log cabin trim tool? It has been all over the internet and I just could not resist. So we just got it in stock. It is $32.99. It's probably not on the website yet because it just came in and I was gone for a couple days. And super, super fun. We're going to be playing around with it. There's a ton of tutorials out there right now. But if you're looking for it, it works with 2.5-inch strips, and we got it in stock. Oops, I need to take away the full screen. There we go, so you can see me. So, see, you just can't trust me by myself. I lose my batteries, I don't show you the full screen. Oh my goodness. So, this is the 10-inch wonky log cabin trim tool. $32.99, works with 2.5-inch strips. We will be showing you our own tutorial of it, but if you've been seeing tutorials on it and have thought, I need to get that, we got it here for you. All right. Then some of the new fabrics that have been coming in. So this is a new range. This is Pixel from Ruby Star Society. We have a range of 12. And this is a little bit more subdued and a little bit more earth tone, or just more contemporary palette. So once again, something like this, you could change into using for a temperature quilt. You could adapt it for the range of the number of fabrics that are available, and you could change it so that it is not a traditional palette. Likewise, you could expand the range by putting in alternate fabrics. So let's just take a look overhead so that we can see some of these beautiful fabrics. So there's a gold metallic in some of it. We have it on the bolt as well as in packs. So we have fet quarter and half-yard packs. What's really fun is that with the Pixel here, so here's the gold metallic, little titch of metallic, but then you have the accent of a magenta with the teal. So that's just kind of fun. So that we have in stock. And then we have Linea, another Ruby Star Society line just came in. We have the half yard and fat quarter towers. There's 25 fabrics in this line. And we have some very happy dancing ladies. Some retro geometrics here. This looks like that one looper pattern done up as fabric. Kind of cool. Fun how different lines can simply have very interesting design and effect. Love these flowers. Really cool texture with a white on white. So this is white on cream here for both of these. low volume here. Love these silhouettes. Funky hair. Which one's me? I don't know. And this is a white on cream there. So very fun line. So that is just what came in the past couple days. And Nancy let us know, we're going to hop back to the temperature guide. So this here, just going back to our Julie Herman for the temperature guide here. This program is $33 for the pattern and guide and separate quilt along access pages. So lots of fun stuff. Thank you so much, Nancy, for filling us in on that information. I appreciate it. All right. Well, I would like to thank all of you for tuning in tonight. I saw some comments that we had people tuning in from all over the place. That was fabulous. All of our programs are available after the fact, not only on Facebook, but also on YouTube. And in 2023, we're going to be working on getting them better indexed so that you can find them better, because right now it seems to be a huge jumble of Julie TV, and we want to make sure that it's better organized. So we will continue to have a program every single Thursday night. And starting next week, what we will do is we will let you know on Tuesday what we're going to be talking about on that Thursday night. We also sporadically will have some other mini programs put in there. Not quite in January, but February forward, we are going to be working on having some other content technique. And some of that will be pre-recorded in nice small snippets so that we have better reference things. But so that you can just, if you want to figure out how to take two of those rulers and put them together to get a 12.5-inch strip of fabric, we will have things like that, just nice short snippets so that you can reference them for learning how to do some stuff. If you have requests for things that you want us to cover, make sure to send them in either by message or by email or when you stop in, and I'd be more than happy to hook you up. Finally, before I let you go, I did want to tell you that since there was while I was gone on Tuesday, there was the giant news of the new Deja Vu release for Nightshade for Tula Pink in July. And yes, we are carrying it. It's going to be awesome. I don't even have all the information from my fabric rep yet. I just know we are carrying it. I'm starting to build a list if you knew that you needed larger yardage amounts, just to make sure that while we still have time to order it for sure, Tula just wanted to get you excited about it. If there was larger amounts that you wanted me to make sure that I had on my list, let me know, and we can talk about how to hook you up. So I wish you a great rest of the week. Make sure to come on in for that Christmas fabric and help us so that we don't have to move it. Make sure that you're sewing a lot and staying warm. Happy quilting, and we'll see you soon.